Yo, what's up YouTube? It's the one and only Legend of Winning, aka Low, and I am back with another episode of the NBA Preview. Now, if you missed the last episode, as always, the annotation will be in the top right hand corner. There will be a link in the description, and if you watch the video in its entirety, there will be annotations at the end of the video for not only last episode, but also a playlist for all of the episodes for the NBA Preview, just in case you want to binge watch them. However, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Sacramento Kings and the first step in the new direction without DeMarcus Cousins, because I think this is something that's going to be extremely interesting for this organization moving forward. But for people out there who are unaware, DeMarcus Cousins, arguably a top 10 talent in the NBA. Matter of fact, it's not even arguable, it's just a fact. DeMarcus Cousins offensively is by far one of the most well-rounded big men I've ever seen in my entire life. And unfortunately, it never really panned out for the organization in his time with Sacramento, which is a shame because I felt as if DeMarcus Cousins was talented enough to really push them over the top. But when you have a culmination of bad owners, bad coaches, bad teammates, I understand it's going to be extremely hard to put your team in a situation to win consistently, which is probably my biggest concern for this organization. Now that DeMarcus Cousins is removed from the Sacramento Kings, we now have to look at management and owners to come to conclusions on why exactly this situation really isn't working out, despite the fact that DeMarcus Cousins, aka the scapegoat, has now been removed from the situation. And when it comes to that, I think that's probably the best transition to our summer of social media for our clip of the day.
How much has your relationship changed over the first year that you guys have been together, and how much does it mean to have the stability and continuity with knowing that you two are going to be here for the next few years together?
Now let me add some context to this clip because I couldn't necessarily find anything whatsoever of the announcement itself. But for people out there who don't know, Vlade Divac, who was a general manager of the Sacramento Kings over the past 2 years, he actually received an extension, which is extremely interesting to a lot of Sacramento Kings fans because you would make the argument that he's not really that good of a general manager. Matter of fact, before this, he never was a general manager, which I know a lot of people had questions about when they asked me on Twitter, but I will say this, looking at the situation that Divac was in, quite honestly, he was basically brought in for a PR stunt and a trade to DeMarcus Cousins. That's basically it. And now we're at a situation where DeMarcus Cousins is gone, and I think especially when you have an abundance of young players on your roster and you're making a transition to a new era in your history, I think the best thing for the team is just consistency at the top and all the way through. You don't want to have to keep running through coaches and general managers, especially when it comes to these younger players. The inconsistency of what their role and what their expectations are for the team, that's something that's not going to aid them in the development or growth. Keep the general manager, keep the coach. It's not like it was a long extension. If I'm not mistaken, it was only 2 or 3 years. But right now, consistency is a key. Hopefully the roster will build. And speaking of the roster, let's go ahead and look at the depth chart and the contracts. So when it comes to the contracts, there's a lot of questions that a lot of people have to ask about these contracts. So let's go ahead and knock them out real quick. The new signings on this team's whole bunch of veterans: George Hill, Vince Carter, and Zach Randolph. People were asking me on Twitter, how do I feel about this? And I'm kind of split. Now, when it comes to Vince Carter and Zach Randolph, I feel at this stage of their career, they understand that they're going to be coming off the bench. So I really don't believe it's going to hurt the development of some of the younger players. And honestly, I do believe it's a good move to put veterans around some young players, especially a player such as Vince Carter, who's played multiple roles throughout his entire career, from franchise star player to all-star to role player to six-man. So I do believe Vince Carter definitely can provide some type of experience that not too many other teams are able to provide to the young players. So I do like that. Same thing goes with Zach Randolph as well. And also for the people out there who are trying to wonder why exactly Zach Randolph and Vince Carter would randomly sign with the Sacramento Kings, it's because they're trying to get that bag. That's the reason why. They're trying to get their money before they retire. Ain't nobody in their right mind gonna be paying Zach Randolph a 2-year, $24 million contract. $12 million a year for Zach Randolph? That's crazy. But he getting his bag. I applaud you for that, young man, because you out here getting your paper. I ain't gonna hate on you. However, if there is a situation that I quite don't understand, it is George Hill. Because George Hill at this stage of his career is still in his prime. George Hill is at a stage of his career where I would assume that not only would he go after money, but also a situation that should lead into an abundance of success. And it's not like George Hill has a career that's as robust as Vince Carter or even Zach Randolph. For the most part, George Hill has played the same role throughout his entire career. A solid starter, but never a star, not necessarily an all-star either. So I really don't necessarily know what he's going to be able to give to other players on his team. Now don't get me wrong, last year he definitely provided a little bit more evidence that he's probably more dynamic than what many, including myself, would believe. However, I just don't understand why exactly bringing George Hill, someone who's in his prime, paying him around $20 million a year, and I'm assuming you're going to start him over De'Aaron Fox, which definitely could hurt the development of De'Aaron Fox. I'm not a huge believer of just throwing rookies out there, but I'm definitely not a believer of putting a legitimate starter over a rookie that you hope and assume will one day be the star of your franchise. And speaking of that, great transition to our depth chart. In the backcourt, we have George Hill and Buddy Hield. At the 3, we got Bogdanovic. At the 4, Skal Labissiere. And at the 5, we have Willie Cauley-Stein. And then off the bench, we have a pretty solid bench as well, which is why this is going to be extremely interesting to look at this team function and grow and develop, especially some of the younger players. So we have De'Aaron Fox, Zach Randolph, Kosta Koufos, just to name a few. And then when it comes to their perimeter players, it's extremely robust. I didn't actually throw up everybody. I just want to keep it to a 12-man rotation. But it is going to be extremely interesting to figure out who they put out there and the playing time that they allocate to some of the younger players. And hopefully everything pans out. Now, when I look at this depth chart, there's one word that just screams out to me, and that is potential. Matter of fact, underrated potential. A lot of these players have been consistently overlooked over the past year or two, which then brings me to my spotlight player of the day, which is all of the young players on this roster, because quite honestly, it's just a bunch of young, talented athletes that I want to point out. I'm not going to spend too much time on them, but I will explain to you why I personally believe that they will have a successful career, or at least my expectations of them. So first we have Willie Cauley-Stein, who spent 2 years in the NBA, and last year after DeMarcus Cousins departed from the organization, he moved into the starting lineup. In the last 20 to 25 games, he was fairly impressive while only playing 30 minutes a game. This year I'm expecting him to be a double-double guy, be extremely energetic, and honestly, if he really puts his mind to it, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a candidate for the Most Improved Player of the Year award this next upcoming season. I love his energy. I love the fact that he crashes the boards. He's extremely athletic. Having a dynamic between him and De'Aaron Fox, especially off the pick and roll, is something that I would love to see, because I do believe De'Aaron Fox is a solid passer. Then we have Skal Labissiere. Very similar to Willie Cauley-Stein, he definitely provided us some more evidence that he was going to be a really solid contributor once DeMarcus Cousins was traded from the organization. And one thing I really like about Skal Labissiere is that he's out here knocking down shots a little bit all over the floor. So Willie Cauley-Stein can crash the boards, be that inside guy, and Skal Labissiere can hit the mid-range, the elbow jumper. And again, I like that dynamic because it's something that you have to have in today's NBA, especially if you're going to have a point guard in De'Aaron Fox that's not going to be the greatest shooter in the world. So keep that in mind as well. Then we have Buddy Hield. Who cannot forget about Buddy Hield, aka the next Steph Curry, or at least that's what the owner believes he's going to be. I like Buddy Hield. I actually enjoyed him in his time in college because he really showed me a lot of progression. I know he started off really slow in New Orleans, but after the DeMarcus Cousins trade, his numbers went up as well, and I applaud him for that. And hopefully he's able to pick up right where he left off, because I do believe that Buddy Hield is a very, very special player. This year I'm expecting Buddy Hield to find that perfect balance of being a playmaker for others while still being that dominant scorer that I think a lot of us expect out of him. We finally got to talk about De'Aaron Fox, because I know that's something that a lot of people are concerned about, and if you follow me on Twitter, that's someone that I've been talking about off and on a lot about. Now, personally, I like De'Aaron Fox. It's not like I hate him. It's just that I know what the NBA is right now, and you'll be a fool to believe that someone, just because he's athletic, will be able to dominate the league. And it's not like De'Aaron Fox has the same build as other players such as Dennis Smith Jr., Frank Ntilikina, and other point guards who can't necessarily shoot. He's 6'3", which is definitely something that he should be able to use in his advantage, but there's multiple reports claiming that he's weighing roughly around 170 to 180 pounds. That's ridiculous. So even though he is extremely fast, I believe he's an underrated passer, and people don't give him his credit for that, and I do like that. Even though he's extremely charismatic, and I really like that, because that should be able to win over some of his doubters, even if they're on his team, and it should be able to unify some of the younger players as well. So I love that about him. It's something about his frame that's really turning me off, and I don't know if he'll be able to add on the weight accordingly. And for someone with that type of speed, athleticism, that ability to finish around the rim, if he's not able to add on to his weight, his inabilities, such as being able to shoot the ball, will be something that definitely will be more highlighted in this game and I'm really, really concerned about that. But hopefully I'm proven wrong. Hopefully he's able to adjust and continue to grow as a player, and hopefully he'll work out, because I really, really like De'Aaron Fox. I'm actually following him on Twitter and everything, so I really like him. And speaking of De'Aaron Fox, that actually leads us into our question of the day. Shout out to my man Young Mustard, because he asks, can Buddy Hield actually work with De'Aaron Fox to form that John Wall, Bradley Beal type connection? Now, honestly, I think they can become that. De'Aaron Fox feels comfortable playing with a 2-guard who can handle the ball because he did it in college. And Buddy Hield, he just has to keep making that transition as well. And hopefully both of them can become the players that we all expect them to. I honestly believe this team could really turn things around way sooner than a lot of people are giving them credit. I like almost every single young player on this roster. I didn't even talk about the potential of Harry Giles, because if he comes back healthy, my goodness, will this team be a legitimate threat. And I think a lot of people really need to start paying attention to this team. But at the end of the day, I like this team. Tell me what you think about this team as well in the comment section below. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Tomorrow, I'm gonna try my hardest to double upload. Don't tell nobody, don't tell nobody. Keep it on the DL. And with that being said, I'll see you all later. Peace.